Sail with us through nature's zoo.
Welcome to Vacation Mavens, the podcast that brings you travel inspiration and practical tips from two moms who know how to plan the perfect trip.
I'm Tamara from Your Time to Fly.
And I'm Kim from Stuffed Suitcase. With over 40 years of travel experience between us, we're here to share our favorite destinations from road trips to cruising, theme parks, and European adventures.
Whether you're planning a family vacation or a mom getaway, we have the tips and tricks to make memories that will last a lifetime.
Tamara, you are finally back from yet another jaunt to South America.
I
guess,
I'm really covering the ground this year, and you're back from Europe, and we haven't had a chance to talk for a month, so we'll see how long this episode goes. But no, actually, we're going to break it up into a bunch of episodes so that you can hear all about some of our summer adventures.
We've been busy, and I think we've had a good time. I definitely have been envious of some of your wildlife excursions, experiences that you've been sharing about. So we're going to kick off our summer travel recap, starting in the Galapagos Island cruise, which you did. So first of all, let's tell people what you were booked on, because I think it was like a tour package, and then how did you get there? We'll start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in full disclosure, I was hosted by a company called Galaxy Expeditions, and they have a group of different small yachts that they sail in the Galapagos. They work both with travel advisors and direct with consumers. And so they are actually expanding as well to cover more of Ecuador and Peru. But this trip was focused on the Galapagos for me. So I was sailing on one of their vessels called the Galaxy Yacht. And that was I guess max of 16 passenger yacht, like an 8-cabin yacht.
Very small. Okay.
So we'll talk about some of the tips and things for the Galapagos, but definitely small has its advantages and maybe a few disadvantages too.
Yeah.
But to get there, one of the things that I didn't realize like a few months ago was how far out in the ocean the Galapagos were. So I knew you had to take a plane, but I thought it was like just a little hop.
Right.
But it's actually, I have to look it up, but like 900 or 500 kilometers out into the Pacific. So I was staying in Quito. I flew into Quito. I stayed by the airport, which if you ever need to stay by the airport in Quito, the Wyndham was actually really nice, almost like on airport property, 24-hour shuttle, breakfast included.
Oh, nice.
Really very convenient, because otherwise it's like 45 minutes or more to downtown Quito. And I was coming in at 10:30 at night and flying out the next morning. So there's no need for me to do that.
Yeah.
So people either fly from Quito or Guayaquil. Guayaquil is further south, but actually my flight stopped there. I stayed on the plane. Some people get off, other people get on, and then we continue on to the Galapagos. So you can fly out of either. A couple of things to know, like before you even get close to the Galapagos, like when I was in the Quito airport, I was met by somebody from Galaxy Expeditions, and they helped me walk through this, which was really nice. But first you had to go to one desk that was to purchase your travel tourist card, which gave you like a QR code kind of thing. And then you had to go and take your luggage to be inspected and was tied with a zip tie, because they're very protective of Galapagos. Is all like a national park, and they're extremely protective in terms of looking at what's coming in and what's going out. And then I went through the normal, airport check-in process. But you do that before you even go to the counter to check your bag and all of that. And just because I know you're a lounge lover, I'm just going to say also, every airport in Ecuador has airport lounges, like nice ones, like priority pass lounges.
Yep.
Even this tiny little like open air, no air conditioning airport in the Galapagos and in San Cristobal had an airport lounge. Of course, it was after security, and I thought it was just like an open air airport hangar. Like I didn't go back there for a while. And then as soon as I go through, they're like airport priority pass, and I'm like, why, yes.
Sure. It's funny.
Yeah.
I remember being surprised by that in Africa. It's like, this random airport has a priority pass lounge. Yeah. Not that it's like great, but yeah.
Even Quito, like flying out to come home, the international terminal one was really large, really nice breakfast.
Nice.
And it had like a relaxation area with like loungers where you could kind of rest, which is great because I had like a 2:30 a.m. pickup or something like that.
Yeah.
So getting there and then flying from Guayaquil out to the Galapagos, it was about an hour and a half.
Okay. So it's almost, people don't realize the Azores is like way out from Portugal. Like it's like a 2-hour flight from Lisbon.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. Nice. So you got all your luggage checked. You did all that. It's nice that they met you the day before to help you get.
They met me at the airport that day.
Yeah. Oh, so you stayed in the hotel overnight and then you came back to the hotel. They met you there when you
Yeah.
prepared to go to. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. That makes sense. And then so you land, and they transported you to the
Yeah,
boat.
so the other thing I should probably mention is that
Yeah.
so the Galapagos has one of the things they're doing over tourism and just also add to the conservation efforts is they charge a pretty hefty entrance fee. So it's a $200 per person entrance fee. So getting there, we landed in Baltra, and that airport, cute little open air airport again, probably an hour wait to go through and pay my fee, have my
Wow.
passport checked again, have my luggage checked again.
Again.
Yeah, so lots of steps to it. But then after I finally got through all that, met the guide, met the other people from the group, and boarded a bus over to the port. And can I just say, we were driving on the bus, and I see signs for like, watch for sea lions, iguana crossing. And we
Aw.
get to the port, which is just very small. There's just a little dock, and they have
Yeah.
all these Zodiac boats like going out to the boats with all the
Oh, because
supplies and the
they're anchored.
food and the
Okay.
baggage and stuff like that. And yeah, they're anchored out. So
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
Zodiacing back and forth all the time. And then the people load to go over. But right on the dock were some sea lions. So it was like the
Aw.
perfect introduction. You're like, all right, here we are in the
Here we
Galapagos.
are.
I thought it was going to be one of these. I hope we get to see. You've done African safaris, like I have not, but with that, it's always, ooh, let's go looking. Let's hope we can
Yeah.
find this or that.
Yeah.
Galapagos, it is like right there. Everything is
Nice.
right there. It's not hard to find at all.
Yeah. That's so cool. So, how long was your trip? And let's just talk about that sort of thing for if people are planning. Do you have, now that you've done it, what did you think about your duration?
Yeah, so mine was 5 nights, so a 5.5 day maybe. These trips are really busy. I don't know, like I don't, unless you are really into snorkeling or a big bird watcher, I don't think you need more than that. I felt like that was a really nice amount of time. We got to a number of the islands, and the other thing to think about is if you go way back in our archives, we did an episode once
Yeah.
about a land-based trip to Galapagos, I think. And so you can do that for people that don't want to be on a smaller boat. You're still going to do a lot of excursions, but there are a couple of big islands, but then there's a whole lot of little islands. And so if you like, I think part of me was like, don't you want to see all of them? And you really don't, because it can get repetitive after a while. Like
Yeah.
maybe you come back. There was one couple from Germany on my trip that they had just done another 5 night, and they were doing like back to back
Yeah.
cruises. But she was like a photographer. She was really into it, wanting to see all of the wildlife. I think that would be too much for me.
Okay.
So I thought the
Good to
five
know.
nights was absolutely perfect.
Okay. And you did mention small boats. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that. You're a 16 passenger boat. I know, like myself, you suffer from motion sickness.
Yeah.
Is the Galapagos protected? Like, how was that situation? Because I know the Galapagos in general, I don't think there are any boats that hold over like 70-ish passengers. I think
Yeah, I
they're
think
mostly smaller
100 at
boats.
most. Like they're all
Yeah.
small boats.
Yeah.
There's a lot of yachts like the size that I went on. There are then some catamarans that are more like the 30 to like maybe the 32 passengers or up
Yep.
to like 50. So some of those are slightly larger, but you're not going to get anything like a major cruise ship,
Yeah.
which thank goodness,
Thank
like the
goodness.
islands could never handle it.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, they're out there in the ocean, so it's not protected. Some of them have a reef around them or part of a lagoon,
Yeah.
but for the most part, no,
It's like being in the Caribbean. It's just
yeah,
like free
yep,
going between islands. Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Okay.
So I imagine it could be a little bit like what you did in Iceland too, around an island.
Yeah.
So what can I say? I didn't mind it at all during the day. For the day,
Yeah.
for the most part, we're either docked or off the boat.
Off the
And
boat.
then you're doing some little between islands, maybe during lunch. And that wasn't too bad. What really bothered me was at night. So
Yeah.
at night was when we really went from one place to the other so that you could wake up the next morning and then
At the new
at the
place.
new
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And that felt so much more movement. I had one video
Yeah.
of like my curtains just swinging and I mean,
Yeah.
I've experienced that on a big ship in the Caribbean many years ago too. It's not as drastic as maybe I thought it might be given that you're on
Oh,
a,
that's
a
good.
fairly small boat, but it still bothered me at night.
Yeah.
And I think what bothered me more at night was that the engines are loud when you're moving.
Yeah.
So I think you really need to bring like some sleep aids. You bring
Yeah.
something for you bring earplugs, or I have my Bose sleep buds, which they discontinued again. And maybe some Dramamine for sure. So
Yeah.
the first couple nights I really had trouble sleeping. And then after that, once we stopped moving, then you could sleep. And so there was only one night where it was like a longer sail. Most of them were a little shorter.
Hmm.
And yeah, with some Dramamine, something to make me sleepy, help me sleep,
That's good.
and the something to block the noise.
Noise. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing with Iceland. And we were on a bigger ship, of course, but
Mm.
you're in the Arctic Ocean. And it was the sound of all the creaking of the boat. And then you literally go up and then you would hear the boat slap
Mm.
because it was like big swells. And that was the hardest thing in Iceland. So it sounds like it's more just the motion there, which when you're laying flat, people don't realize it's really hard to just tune that out.
I feel
So I
better
agree.
laying flat than sitting up though.
Oh,
Because for
yeah.
me, like the motion sickness for me is not as much my stomach, it's my head. Because once my
Yeah.
head gets all
Okay.
swimmy, like when,
Yeah.
there's been a lot, that's why sometimes driving or like the helicopter ride or something like
Yes.
that is worse for me than a boat,
Yeah.
just because it's more like side to side motion and just messes with my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to lie and say, look, it's not a problem at all. Like the first few nights, I would say the first 2 nights, a number of people on the ship were like, wow, I didn't sleep last night. So,
Yeah.
but no one was like getting
Yeah, you
sick
deal with it.
or
Yeah, it's not like the Drake shake.
no, which I'm still terrified of.
I know, ditto. That's good. We talked a lot about this, so we'll move on for everyone who's listening. So you got on the boat, you are a solo traveler. So did you meet other people? What was the makeup like demographic wise?
Yeah. So there were 14 people on my ship because two of us were traveling solo. There was a group of four. I think they were either French or Swiss. They were speaking French though. There was a couple from Germany. There were two ladies from the Canary Islands in Spain, and then the rest of us were Americans, but two of the Americans spoke Spanish. Like one had lived in Spain and one lives in Mexico. So it was group dining. So we had one large dining table, and it was one of those things where I don't know, I felt like a little bit like the high school cafeteria because like once everybody sat down to dinner the first night, that's where they
You were in
stayed the
that
whole
spot?
time. So I was like in the middle between the French and the Americans with the Spanish at the end, and then the Germans across from me. So it was like a little bit hard sometimes to get into the conversations. But overall, like I had no problem traveling solo. You're doing things together as a group, like,
Yep.
and I think I'm very comfortable with myself. It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me. I
Ditto.
had people to talk to, like when I
Yep.
wanted to. I could go back
Yep.
to my room when I didn't want to. Like it
Yep.
was totally fine. Yeah.
I love it. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. I have no issue with it. But you know
Right.
me, I'm like Midwest girl. I'll talk to anyone. So
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me at all.
Everyone was friendly. Almost everyone was friendly, but it was nice. And you're just like interacting with, you have a naturalist guide that takes you on all the excursions. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've
Nice.
actually really, between this and the Peru trip, really come to appreciate small group travel.
Yeah. That's great. It sounds like really nice. I was going to laughingly say, did you notice everyone talks about how Americans are really loud in groups? And I have to say, after this recent trip that Mia and I just took, the Germans are very loud. Did you notice that in your group?
I didn't, but yeah, there's just there you meet a lot of Germans and you're because I feel
Yeah.
like there's certain countries, granted they're bigger and they're better economies, but like you just encounter like a lot of Germans, a lot of Australians. I think certain
Yeah, a lot of
countries are just more
Australians.
into travel. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of Australians. We noticed that in Europe. And Mia just couldn't get over the exchange rate she was feeling for them. She's, man, we think it's expensive to be in Switzerland. How are these Australians doing
Right.
it?
Yeah.
And then a Canadian, we were like, the Canadians, wow. Anyway, sorry. So you talked about sitting down to dine. So let's talk about food because you're the foodie of our little podcast, definitely. So what did you think of the meals? How were the meals set up? You said it was group dining every time. So was it all three meals? And then how was the food?
It was all three meals, and some of them were buffet, and some of them were plated. And usually they would come around, say at lunchtime, and ask, "Here are the two things we're doing for dinner. Which would you like?"
Okay.
So there was a little bit of choice. It would be definitely more challenging for picky eaters. I think they would handle allergies and restrictions really well, although they did seem to take a while. It felt like a little bit like an episode of A Big Fat Greek Wedding when it came to like vegetarians, because one of the ladies was vegetarian and she just kept saying, "No, I don't eat meat. How about fish?" So it just reminds me of that scene where they're
Yeah,
like,
that scene where she's like the pork or there's some,
yeah,
yeah, it's
then we'll have
something like
lamb. Yeah.
lamb. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
One of the guys was pretty restrictive or picky, and I felt a little bad for him because he was not eating a lot, although he was just not hungry. And I'm like,
Yeah,
but I thought it was good. I thought all the food was really
nice.
good. The chef was this lovely woman who just had this warm smile, and she would do anything to try
Aw,
to make you happy too. But the breakfast was usually eggs and some kind of meat and like your typical kind of European spread of like meats and cheeses,
mm-hmm.
fruits. But one thing that I loved just about like throughout Ecuador are all the juices. So
Oh,
they had
yum.
every day is a different like tropical fruit juice,
Yeah.
freshly squeezed, and it's just so good. And then after snorkeling, you would come back and there'd be like tea, like warm to drink or fresh
Like an
juice,
afternoon tea.
and then a little snacks
Yeah.
to have because you've been very busy and exerting
Yeah.
yourself.
Like your
And
after school.
yeah, and so it was, you were well fed. I think dinner was at 7, breakfast depended, and lunch was in between the excursions too. So I I thought it was quite good, the food.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, that's good. So then one of the big things I'm curious about is, are the excursions included in the package? I'm assuming like on a small boat like that, they probably are, almost like river cruising.
Yes.
What's that like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is included, and they keep you busy.
Okay.
Busy, busy. We could talk a little bit about the schedule. I would say not everything is included when it comes to alcohol is not included, but like your meals are
Okay.
included. All the excursions that they offer are included. But if you wanted to have any alcoholic drinks, or I think even maybe like soda might also have been
Oh,
a
interesting.
charge. I can't
Okay.
remember. But anyway, you had the bar bill at the end that you would pay,
Okay.
which was very
Okay.
affordable.
Oh, I was curious.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
yeah. And yeah, so the excursions, the very first day, we meet with the naturalist, and he starts talking about like an overview, what the itinerary is going to be, where they're going, what to do. And I really like to get out there early because I like to beat the other boats, because the other ones you will usually do breakfast and then go do something. And so I like to do this way. So how's everyone? Raise your hand if you're okay with starting at 6 a.m.
That is not Tamara's cup of tea.
So guess who's the only hand that didn't go up?
Yeah.
Was
Oh my
mine.
gosh. Yeah. Tamara, for people who don't know, Tamara is the night owl.
Yeah.
She would rather stay up until 1 or 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm the morning person, but yeah,
But I
no,
think
that's
even you
brutal.
might like
Oh,
to
6
be
a.m.
we were literally stepping onto the zodiacs at 6
Yeah,
a.m.
it's
So
not like your alarm goes off at
yeah,
6. No.
no.
Yeah.
And for me, of course, I'm like I would shower like the day before when we got back from excursions, so I wouldn't shower before I'm going to go do something like a
Yeah.
snorkel or something.
Yeah.
And so I would literally get up at 5:45, give myself like 5 minutes to like
Wash your face.
yeah, like
brush your
not
teeth.
get my balance even. Just put on clothes and go out. And everyone else is like,
Yeah.
oh, I got up at 5:15. I had my coffee. I did this. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so you start early, and
That's crazy.
it's
Well, according to
nice.
that guy,
Right.
that captain.
So
who
my
started-
expectation was, and I was worried about this going into it. There are 3 things I was worried about going into this cruise. One was all of the early excursions, because I had heard, oh, you're out snorkeling at 8 a.m. But 8 a.m. would have been a lot. And then the seasickness and snorkeling, just because I'm a
Yeah.
bit afraid of water. So anyway,
You and I both. I remember us in the Florida Keys together.
yeah.
We're like, I don't really want to do this.
And I'm not the strongest swimmer, like to be honest with you, but I really wanted to do this trip, and I know snorkeling is a big part of it. I
Yeah.
didn't do every snorkeling excursion, but I did some, and they gave me some kind of floaty. It would have been better if I just had like maybe a little
pool
vest
noodle?
and not
Oh.
yeah, like a noodle would have been actually better. One of them they
Yeah.
gave me like the life ring from the boat, so my body was like up in the middle, and I felt like a little kid like dog paddling, and it made it harder to swim. But anyway, I didn't want to get into the middle of this big lagoon and then get like tired and not like it's you
No,
need
safety first. That's
yeah,
always,
yeah.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
they give you wetsuits, which gives you some
Some
buoyancy,
buoyancy,
but
but
yeah.
not, no, it's not going to save your life. Yeah.
And when I'm panicking because of what I saw beneath me, and I'm like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, so it was definitely busy. So the first couple of days we had a 6 a.m. like hike where we'd take a Zodiac over to an island. You either did wet landings or dry landings, which dry would be like they pull up to some rocks and you step out on the rocks. The other would be like you're pulling up on the beach and you have to step into the water and then walk out. And then we'd come back, have breakfast, then go snorkeling, then come back, have a little downtime, then have lunch, then do maybe another snorkel, like maybe we've traveled to another place by then, and then have some downtime. And then at the end of the day, have another hike right before sunset, and
Okay.
then come back on the ship, have a little bit of time to like shower, clean up, have dinner. And I was going to bed pretty early because it was
You were
exhausting.
exhausted.
Yeah. And luckily they started off super busy. And then by the end of the week, we were having like a 7 a.m. start. It was like a little bit later and it wasn't quite as many activities. But I think, remember when we were talking to, I think it was when we were talking to Susan and she was talking about group trips and she was like, feel free, like you don't have to do
You don't
everything.
have to do
So
everything.
there
Yeah.
were a couple of days where with the snorkeling, you could tell like the water was choppier and it looked like it might rain. So I didn't think the visibility would be that great. And I really hate when I'm snorkeling and like the water
You
is
can't.
like splashing into my snorkel because then I'm like choking. And so again, I am someone who frankly is scared of water and scared of what's underneath of it. And I'm not a great swimmer. So you put those together, take that with its grain of salt. And if that's not you, then you're going to love it. And if you is, you can still enjoy it. And
Yeah.
you don't even have to snorkel to see so much, but it's definitely
Yeah.
fun. Like snorkeling, I saw so many beautiful fish,
Yeah.
just the
Let's talk about
tropical
all the
fish.
wildlife. Yeah.
Yeah, were just so plentiful. We saw sea turtles like right there on the ocean floor below us. And some people saw a shark. I heard them saying, oh, here's a shark. And so I'm like, I'm going to go this way. I don't want to go that way.
We're like the Jaws people. Did you know they last month was the 50th anniversary of
I
Jaws?
saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see they just saw like one of the biggest great whites on record, like off the coast of Cape Cod, like a couple days ago? And I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
no, thank you. I actually saw my brother recently and I was like, Tim, you're one of the reasons why I don't like to swim. And he was like, why? What did I do? And I was like, you don't remember like holding me down until I was like throwing up over the side of the pool and you thought that
Oh
was
my
funny. And he was
gosh.
like, oh, I just thought like our dad like threw us in the middle of the pool to learn to swim. And I'm like, yeah, you also thought it was pretty fun to pick on your little sister.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
he was so
Glad I
cute. He
didn't
was
have a
like,
brother.
I'm sorry. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. But I'm still terrified of water because we were at my other brothers and everybody was in the pool and they were like, why don't you go in? I'm like, I really don't
I'm
enjoy
good.
it. I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So anyway, that's my long
Yeah.
story about the
No, that's
snorkeling.
good. Yeah. And mostly snorkeling, but I saw you shared so many photos, lots of sea lions
Yeah.
and lots of blue-footed boobies, which I know was
Yes.
your, and I was surprised they were different. There was different types of blue-footed boobies.
There's different types of boobies. So
Okay,
there's
there we go.
just like in women.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's, yeah, so I couldn't believe like we went, and I'll give you like a little list of some of the islands that we went to. But
Yeah.
as soon as you walk on land, and we did multiple hikes a day, there's just wildlife everywhere. This they tell you beforehand, stay 2 meters away from sea lions or anything, but it comes to you. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to avoid. You're like, I have to walk past you. And it's the first day, of course, we're taking like 1,000 photos of everything like from a distance, not knowing that you're going to then see something like right up
Right
close.
up that. Oh,
And one of
wow.
the things I was really excited to see was the blue-footed booby, just because that's not something that I've seen even in a zoo.
Yeah,
Like
it's like a
it's,
puffin type thing, right? Like it's just
yeah,
this really unique, yeah.
yeah. So they have truly very blue feet. They're just awkward, goofy-looking birds. And I will say the Nazca booby is even goofier looking. But and then they do this very cute mating dance where they like lift up one leg and they have their wings out and they do this like little dance thing and it's like really cute. So they're adorable. And of course all over the Galapagos, all of the gift shops will have I love boobies shirts and things like that. But I
Nice.
definitely bought, I'm not in my where my desk is right now. Otherwise I'd show you like the little pictures that I bought of the boobies. But yeah, we
Nice.
saw so many sea lions, so many different types of birds, frigate birds, and then there's like the blue-footed booby, the red-footed booby, the Nazca booby, the brown-footed booby, which apparently I think the brown ones, like out of I don't know, out of how many thousands, they some of them are turning white, and it's like a climate change thing, but
Oh,
the the speed at which they're turning white, it's like it's amazing because you think of like this is the
evolution,
birthplace of
yeah.
like understanding evolution, right?
I'm having
And
HMS Beagle flashbacks from my biology major.
yeah, I mean, so this is where Darwin came up with his theories. And
Yeah.
it was just amazing to hear that something within the last 5 to 10 years, they see an increase in these birds that are turning white because the white's going to reflect the heat instead of
Heat better. Oh, into
absorbing it.
absorbing it.
So
Oh,
it's really fascinating. The whole place is fascinating. Like whether you love geology because they're volcanic islands,
yeah.
animal life, there's just so much. And the iguanas, there's these really big iguanas, but then there's also the marine iguanas, which look like little Godzillas. Then you don't see in the wild the large Galapagos tortoises. You definitely see the sea turtles in the water, but the tortoises are
Yeah.
endangered. And there's different places. We went to a preserve where they're working to restore their habitat and they're basically breeding them. And they have
Mm-hmm.
to live, I think, 7 years before they're ready for maturity and like something like 15 before they're released or something like that.
Wow.
Because there's a couple of things like one, there, on the islands, there's this dogs and goats that are not
Oh,
endemic and they are eating all of the food that the
baby.
turtles would eat.
Oh,
So
so
they
they
have
can't
to kind of
survive.
get rid of those kind of external factors
Yeah.
as well as do some breeding to bring back those
The numbers.
populations. So they're pretty fascinating when you go and you see them at these preserves, but just don't expect that you're going to see them just in the wild,
In
or
the
at least
wild.
not the
Oh,
islands
that's
that
good.
we went to.
Yeah, that's good to know. Two things to wrap us out. Do you want to mention some of the islands or the islands that you visited, how that worked? And then I'm also curious, you said your luggage was inspected, but I'm assuming because I was thinking, oh, in the morning you could just do some dry shampoo. But then if you're snorkeling, did they check? Did you have to have safe sunscreen? Did your like body, how do they handle that stuff?
I was surprised that they didn't check that. All of my packing instructions ahead of time were like
Emphasized it?
to use that, but no
Okay.
one made sure that people were using that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then on the way out of the Galapagos, when you go through security, they really dig. Well, you have to
Yeah.
kind of scan your checked bags again, but they really dig through all of your carry-on luggage. Like I was shocked by how much they were taking apart people's bags and looking through. And so one of the people that I was with, they asked somebody like, what do people try to take out?
Take.
And they're
Yeah.
like, you'd be surprised, like turtles, eggs. No,
Oh
so it's
my
not just
gosh.
like,
I thought it was like shells or
right,
something.
because usually it's a national park, you're not allowed a rock or a shell or anything like, and there's a really hefty fine, like
Yeah.
at least I think $500. So yeah, I don't know why someone would put a turtle in their carry-on suitcase because I can't imagine it would
People are
live.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my daughter brought a peach from Switzerland
Oh
back
no.
in her suitcase. I'm so glad. Like, I was like, your global entry could have been revoked because
Right.
she didn't say anything. It was in her check bag and she just forgot. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, sorry. But yeah, no turtles, thankfully. She probably
Um,
would have brought a sheep back if she could have.
so yeah, so some of the islands that we went to, we started on South Santa Cruz Island, we went to North Seymour, Bartolome, which is really beautiful. They have a really nice hike up to an overlook there. Santiago Island. I'm trying to think if that, no, Genovesa Island is one that has so many birds. If you're really a bird watcher,
Mm-hmm.
Genovesa, it was one of my favorites. It was a beautiful island to begin with. And also like just the water around there is like really beautiful for considering like
Mm-hmm.
how far out in the ocean it is. And then what else do we do? South Plaza's Island, which I think that's the one where there's just like beaches full of sea lions. So like when we came up on the beach, there were sea lions, like we have to almost like, shoo them out of the way. And
To
like people
land.
were just like standing near the Zodiac boat and these sea lions were like coming up behind them and like almost like nipping at their heels because
Oh,
they were like
yikes.
trying to check
Get
them
out of
out.
our space. Oh, okay.
And there was, oh, Kim, there were these little baby sea lions and a few, and you could hear them suckling on their moms. It was like,
Aw.
and it was just
Aw.
so cute. They were just so cute. And then we
Sweet.
finished in the island of San Cristobal. And San Cristobal is one of the bigger islands. So we actually went into town there, and that's where we took a boat to to the tortoise preserve. But for the most part, like when you're landing on these islands, you see no signs of civilization.
I was wondering, there's not like like you're not going to hop around islands and stay at a bunch of hotels.
You can
You can if you do the
Isabella,
land-based.
Santa Cruz, or Santiago and San
Okay.
Cristobal. But what I did was, if you look on the Galaxy Yacht website, I did itinerary C. And so
Okay.
that does more of the
Remote?
western
Oh, okay.
islands. I'm looking at the map. I'm like, which way
Yeah,
would
no.
that be? Maybe more eastern? I don't know. But more of the smaller islands, because I thought that would be maybe more interesting in terms of what. But
Yeah.
I asked the people that were from Germany, like they had done another cruise. They're like, it's just different. Like you see slightly different things. Or maybe this island is really known for the blue-footed booby. This one is known for that. So everything is a different experience.
Okay.
But San Cristobal is a larger one. So that's where we were in town. You saw like hotels and shops and restaurants and things. But the sea lions there too, they were coming up. They were like in a park in town. They were almost like crossing the street. Like they're just there.
It's like deer or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really so much more than I would have expected. So I feel
Okay.
like in that way, Galapagos really exceeded my expectations. So I feel like if you are a wildlife lover, you
That's
got to
great.
get there at some point. Yeah.
Nice. Good to know. Anything else you want to share before we wrap out?
No, I think I will try to write a blog post at some point that has some of the tips in terms of what to bring with you,
Yeah.
some of
I'm
that
assuming
kind of
like water
stuff.
shoes and stuff like that. And
Yeah. Although
yeah.
my actual water shoes, I only wore once and I didn't really need them, but you definitely
Okay.
need
Like a Tiva sandal or something.
something like
Because I'm
that.
thinking if
Yeah.
you have a water landing, you need to like be in the water,
Right.
but then be able to hike around the island and walk around.
Yeah. And I will say I have an Insta 360
Yep.
camera. It is crap underwater. Like
Yeah, you have to get the housing unit for it.
it says that you don't. Maybe you
Yeah.
do. I don't know. I
don't
watched
know.
so many videos ahead of
Sucks.
time and I held it the way you're supposed to and
Yeah.
everything. And I don't know how the people that do these videos make such beautiful work because mine is just like,
Uh,
oh. But everyone that had a GoPro, everything looked amazing. Maybe
yeah.
invest in a
Good tip.
GoPro. I had
Yeah.
broken mine a long time ago and never replaced it because I used the
Yeah.
other and just not as good. But I
That's
will
too
also
bad.
say that I did not bring my big camera, which was a choice because the Galapagos, you're seeing amazing wildlife and
Right.
you see all the people. Like the first day I'm getting off the ship and everyone has not everyone, but some people have like the giant lenses. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I should have rented something. I should have brought
Right.
something. I will tell you, and you saw a lot of my photos, like you're so close to the wildlife that the
Yeah.
iPhone did a really nice job.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shockingly. Not shockingly, really, because it's a good camera. It's probably
Yeah.
as good a camera as my good camera, right?
Yeah, it's mostly about distance and zoom,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, for sure. Cool. Thank you for sharing. I hope that it's inspired some people. And I think it was a really good description of who it's a good fit for. So I think it's probably very helpful.
Yeah. And any more questions, like feel free to reach out, or if you want help, obviously planning a trip to Galapagos in Ecuador, I'd love to help with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And stay tuned because we're going to be back with another great episode from our summer travels.
Yep. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and rate and review on your favorite podcast app, as that helps other people discover us. And if you want to see more, follow me, Tamara, at Your Time to Fly on Instagram and Facebook and all the others.
And you can follow me, Kim, at Stuff Suitcase on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, my blog.